Too much to talk about tonight. No time for jokes. Let's go. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. This is the tagline. My name is Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And yes, it is Wednesday night. That means it is time for the tagline. It is time for us to talk about, all the big movie news. Really the one big major movie news, but there might be a couple other things to talk about. How's everyone doing tonight? Freezing cold like us here in Austin, Texas, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. For those of y'all who don't know, apparently this country has like a major cold front that's blowing across right now, and once again Texas is getting like a huge brunt of ice, and we still don't know how to deal with inclement weather. We've had 2 whole years since the last
state
ice and snow.
Will never be capable of handling this.
Never ever. We'll never know exactly what's going on or how to deal with this. So, I ventured off and decided to go to the grocery store today, which really wasn't that bad, but man, it is nasty outside. So, stay home. Don't go anywhere. Hopefully you have all the food and drinks that you need, and just watch us as we talk about the DC movie news stuff that dropped yesterday. Before we get started with that, though, there is the YouTube things that we have to handle. Folks, very much would appreciate if anyone feels like asking us any questions, comments, issues, streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. That would be fantastic if you could hop on that. It's that thing, that link that's up there above my brother's head where he's currently looking up. There should also be a link down below in the description. Hit that and go ask us whatever you want to ask us for whatever amount you want to give. That would be fantastic. Also, speaking of giving amounts, patreon.com/cinefanatics. If you feel that we are worth supporting, please hop on the tier that is good for you and your budget, your pocketbook. That would be fantastic. Come join us for all the fun stuff that we have coming up this month. I don't have any announcements on that yet because it's the first day of the month. Wake up. Anyways.
Stop.
I always have to hit the Bone Thugs and Harmony song whenever we do a show on the first.
No, you do not.
I can't help it.
You do not.
I'm a Bone Thugs and Harmony fan. I can't lie, but yeah. Anyways, if you feel the need to support us, and those of us that love, do you love Bone Thugs and Harmony too? Patreon.com/cinefanatics. Has nothing to do with Bone, but whatever. Moving on. What stuff do we have happen coming up? Oh, yesterday we dropped an episode of the Cinefanatics podcast where we are again talking about what movies we're anticipating from 2023. If you watched the marquee from this past Friday, we were ranking those movies. Here we're doing just a little bit of a deep dive onto some of those movies. It's kind of like a companion piece for the marquee, or if you didn't watch the marquee, you don't have time for a 2-hour-long video, here's a 1-hour-long video. So go check out the podcast almost anywhere that you can get your audio podcast. And again, there's a video version right here on this channel. Go watch that. Leave a comment. Like it. Do all those things. New movies watched. Chris, what new movies did you watch over this past week?
You people.
What do you mean, you people?
I mean, it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It's got some good moments in it, but look here, I'll save you guys. Look up the trailer. Pretty much everything that you can see in the trailer, that's the entire movie. So save yourself. It's on Netflix. If you really want to actually go for it, you can find it there. But it's Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, which, you think about that should work. There should be something good there.
And
it's not great.
Yeah. Anyways, I haven't really watched anything new. There was a old horror movie that I had a ton of people recommending that I watch called Possession. So I finally watched that. It was wild. So highly recommend, check that out. It's on Shudder. So otherwise, I haven't watched anything new. I know Babylon is available for streaming now. So probably watch that. I'll probably watch that probably within the next week. So you'll get my opinions on that probably next week. Chris, you'll probably watch that. Very likely you'll watch that within the next week as well, because I know you've been eagerly anticipating.
I will probably watch it when it hits streaming and it's not $20 for me to rent.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We'll see how much it is, and then we'll figure out how to watch that. No, Chris does not have Shudder. Why would Chris have Shudder? Anyways, there was another new one. Oh, the Black Panther Wakanda Forever's on Disney Plus. So probably watch that again sometime within the next week. Probably watch that tonight, actually, just because I've been eager to watch it again. Otherwise, haven't watched anything else new this week. So we're 6 minutes in. Let's go ahead and get to the movie news because we got a ton of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is what's happening in your world tonight.
We apologize for the interruption.
Back to you.
And how's the box office numbers?
Well, before we get to that, guys, just in case you're wondering, hey, Chris seems very quiet. Chris isn't feeling good. Chris has to go live because there's big news today, so we have to be live. But I feel like complete crap, so I'm sorry if I'm not entertaining for you guys. We're going to do our best here with one half of us not being normal, but I didn't have anywhere else to insert that in the rest of the show because there wasn't a moment to do that. But anyway, I don't feel great, but we're going to talk about box office here. Number one, still Avatar. Is anyone surprised? No.
Nope.
7 weeks in a row. First movie to do that since the first Avatar. So once again, this franchise has magic in it or something, or at least James Cameron's touch.
Isn't it like 3 of the top 4 highest grossing movies of all time now are James Cameron movies?
Yep, including Titanic.
So that's Titanic, Avatar 1 and 2. Is it Endgame? Is that the 4th one?
Endgame. I know Force Awakens is pretty high up there. So anyway, number 2 is Puss in Boots. Same as last week. Puss in Boots is kind of hanging out in number 2 for a little bit.
Excuse me, it's what in Boots?
Puss in Boots.
Oh, okay.
Number 3 is Python, which is another foreign international release. Number 4 is A Man Called Otto. 5, we've got Mithrigan. Number 6 is Missing. Yep, gonna call it Mithrigan. Don't care.
That's fine.
So number 6 is Missing. Number 7, Plane. Number 8, Left
number
Behind.
6?
Stop. Number 8, Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist. Don't care. Number 9, Infinity Pool. And number 10, The Wandering Earth 2.
There's another Left Behind movie.
Yes, there
is. Is what's his face have anything to do with this?
No.
Cameron
this one's Kevin Sorbo is involved somehow. So
that's almost even worse.
same difference, honestly.
I'd rather have a Kirk Cameron movie. Jeez.
I think the real news there is that Infinity Pool opened at number 9.
Only at number 9. Okay. I want to say that sounds about right, just because, like, first of all, if you're familiar with anything Cronenberg, now granted that's David Cronenberg, the father of Brandon Cronenberg, who directed Infinity Pool, you're probably staying away from Infinity Pool just in general. You see the name Cronenberg, and that's an immediate note for most people, like this one.
Nope.
But that would make sense because I've heard like a lot of people talking about at least what the NC-17 or unrated version of it may be. And a lot of people are like, I don't even want to see the R-rated version if that's what's in the NC-17. So, yeah, that makes sense. I was wanting to go see it, but I mean, weather, yeah, that's kind of hurting. We were supposed to go to a screening of Knock at the Cabin last night. Yeah.
Yep.
Last night we were supposed to go to that, and it got canceled because of weather. So we'll get to see it whenever we get to see it. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see how the weather is and how Chris is feeling. So
probably not.
Yeah, very likely not.
The weather's still going to be bad tomorrow, so probably not.
Yeah. Anyways, that is going to do it for box office. Moving on. What else do we got?
Whatever's next in the movie news, guys. There's no Barbie watch this week. I feel it.
This is one of our most anticipated movies of this year. I'll be damned if we're not playing the Barbie watch thing.
Yep.
Anyways, here's your Barbie info for this week.
Oh, okay.
Barbie was essentially like probably our most anticipated movie of 2023. This has been your Barbie watch. first time that like the intro video to Barbie Watch was actually longer than the actual news for Barbie Watch.
I made that, and somehow I didn't realize that it would make my headache worse someday.
This will also be make sure everyone knows this is also the first time that I'm the one that clicked on the Barbie Watch thing instead of my brother.
Chris had me fooled there. I was not expecting to do a Barbie Watch today.
You can blame me, Garth. That was completely on me.
My head hurts.
He even said before we went live, like, hey, I don't have a Barbie Watch. So I was like, well, shit, I'll think of something. Let's move into actual movie news. This is going to be hoisted on your own petard, Chris. Would you stop being on your petard on camera? Would that's not family?
You can't say that word online anymore.
Hoisted or petard? Or Chris? Yes.
Petard.
Oh, yeah. So moving on to movie news because we got a lot of it. There was a huge announcement yesterday. Huge announcement. Like mega huge. And none of y'all saw it because y'all are all paying attention to the DC news that James Gunn dropped. The big news that was dropped yesterday, it was announced that there's going to be a fourth Bad Boys movie. That's right. Bad Boys for Life, which is weird because that was the title of the... I love the fact...
They called it out.
I'm going to drop the joking bit here for a second. I like the fact that, like, even in the announcement video that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence did, they're even, like, in that video saying, like, wait, didn't we call the third one Bad Boys for Life? We really messed it up there, didn't we? It was hilarious. Anyways, there's a fourth Bad Boys movie.
Okay.
Anyways, moving on. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen the third one since the theater. Like, it just did not stick with me as much as the first two did. So, moving on. Big piece of news that actually dropped, like, right before we went live today. From Deadline. That's right. We're actually saying where we get our references from because that might be important later on. Deadline has supposedly confirmed which trailers are going to be showing during the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl this year, it is looking at it, the Superb Owl. Sorry, the Superb Owl. It's looking like the commercials are going to cost $7 million for a 30-second slot.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think this is going to be it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Eagles, I believe. It's going to be some team versus another team. That's usually how that goes. But during the big game, some of these may be trailers that play before. Some of them might be during, and some of them may have like a full trailer at the beginning. And like during the actual game, they may be shortened down to 15-second, 30-second spots. So we'll see. Right off the bat, it looked like it was still up in the air whether or not there was going to be any commercials or trailers for Creed 3 or John Wick 4. So those may still be a possibility. It does look like we are going to get a first like full trailer for The Flash from WB. Looks like it's about it from Warner Brothers for right now.
Wait. Is this a 30-second full trailer for The Flash? Because that's hilarious.
That would be funny.
The full trailer of The Flash is 30 seconds, y'all.
So I don't have anything that actually says that, but that would be funny.
So quick.
Yeah, if they take like a regular, like say 2-minute long trailer and just shorten it to 30 seconds, that'd be funny. Would be a waste of money on their part, but would be funny. Yeah. Universal, of course, we've known this one for a while. They're going to drop the trailer for Fast X, Fast 10, whatever you want to call it.
You should do a concert too.
No. Speaking of wasting money, God, that was such. I don't even have a horse in that race, and I was like, oh, that hurts when they did that whole concert thing for the trailer, and then the whole movie had to get pushed back because of the pandemic. Just that was terrible. Let's see. Moving on, Paramount apparently is going to have trailers for Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Scream 6 and Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. The Transformers one, I feel like that makes sense because I feel like almost every time a Transformers movie has been coming out, there's been a trailer during the Super Bowl. So, again, Scream 6, it's probably going to be like the latest trailer that we last saw. I seriously doubt they're going to come up with a new trailer. Same with Dungeons and Dragons. It's probably going to be the trailer that just came out like last week or something like that.
Which makes sense too, because that movie's coming out here pretty soon. So,
yeah. Disney. This is a big one. Disney looks like they are going to be dropping trailers for the Marvels.
Everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We can just shorten this real quick. Everything that they're doing. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Elemental, The Little Mermaid, and another Ant-Man Quantumania. That's probably the same thing. Again, I'm willing to bet that Ant-Man trailer is probably going to be the same one that they just released not too long ago. So, or maybe a shortened, condensed version of it. Since that movie comes out in a couple of weeks anyways, I can't see them like blowing like a huge wad of money on advertisement during the big game within weeks of it coming out. That seems ridiculous. So, yeah. So I'm willing to bet the Marvels obviously is going to be the first full trailer. Dial of Destiny. That might be a condensed trailer. I can't see that one being like a full trailer either, because the first trailer came out like what, a month ago?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting the second trailer to that here pretty soon.
But I don't know if it would be yet. I think they would probably premiere that before a movie. That would.
When's the game?
February 12th.
So about 2 weeks from now.
Yes, the 12th. So that's actually the week Ant-Man comes out. There's no way they're doing more than like a 15-second ad for Ant-Man.
No, they're just going to cut together some of the same footage we've already seen.
Yeah,
maybe like one or two new shots of something, but that's about it.
Anyways, yeah. So Indiana Jones might be a smaller commercial. Guardians. I don't know. Like Guardians and Marvels, one of those is also going to be the trailer that runs before Ant-Man. In fact, I'm going to be honest. I'm willing to bet both of those are going to have trailers before Ant-Man. Yeah. Just one of these may be. The Guardians might be the last trailer we got from them. I don't know. Elemental, I believe, will be a new trailer. Little Mermaid will definitely be a brand new trailer. This Little Mermaid trailer will be the one that reveals everything. We'll get a good, like, full look of Ariel. We'll get the first look of Ursula, Triton, Sebastian Flounder, Scuttle. So we'll get all that. Oh, yeah, Eric. Apparently there's some dude in this movie who could go figure.
Who?
Prince Eric, yeah.
I thought the love story was with Scuttle.
The 30-second Quantumania trailer will just be Corey Stoll saying, "Yes, I'm MODOK."
Sold.
That's clever.
I'll take it.
Anyways, yeah, so that's what we've got looking like it's coming out for the Superb Owl. So stay tuned. I believe the plan for that day, you're not going to be streaming that day, because more than likely no one's going to be watching. Not being mean, just being honest.
On a Sunday, so
that
I don't know. TBD.
I would say that would probably be one that we're going to be sitting here like ready to do reactions to some of these as they drop online, because we're probably not watching the Super Bowl. I don't know, the Super Bowl. I mean, whatever. I eat ramen noodles for like lunch. Come sue me. Well, I don't care. I don't have any money. Streamlabs.com/Cinefanatics. If you would like to donate to our getting sued by the NFL fund. Anyways. A bowl of what? Bowl of frosted mini wheat.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, bring back the cinnamon fanatics. That'd be great.
This is us trying to get a sponsor just in case we get sued.
Yeah, so that will be the new thing. Every I don't know, every $10,000 donated at streamlabs.com/cinefanatics will say the name of the big game. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and Wait, is Cinnamon Fanatics a thing? Because it was.
Someone joined late onto the Cinefanatics train.
Yeah. Yes, Cinnamon Fanatics has been a thing before. And maybe a thing again. Who knows? We'll see at some point. Who knows what life brings us. Yeah, the Discord still has a channel. Yeah. Let's move on to the DC announcements. That's the real reason everyone's here. We're not even like 25 minutes into this episode. We're already on to the main topic. We are flying by tonight.
Good.
James Gunn made a huge announcement yesterday, telling the world that Bad Boys for Life is coming out. No. He made a huge announcement, the one that we've all been waiting for, and he said he was going to make this announcement in January, and the bastard waits till the very last day of the month to do it. Just thanks, James.
final quarter, the final inning, the final hour, the last possible play.
Anyways, so the announcements that we got, before we actually talk about new stuff, let's go into what's currently happening with the DCEU. So as of right now, as we mentioned, there is this Flash movie. Well, first of all, Shazam. Shazam is still coming out. Shazam, Fury of the Gods, that will still be coming out as...
Fury of the Goads.
The Goads?
Shazam, Fury of the Goads.
Furry of the Goads? Like Helen Mirren's like furry. There's an image.
Good one.
So yeah, like everything that's already set, kind of what we've already known for the DCEU is already in place. That's going to continue as normal. We know Shazam is coming out. We've got the Flash coming out, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom or whatever. That is all still coming out as planned. The clarification that we got in this announcement is James Gunn actually saying that The Flash will be the movie that resets the DC universe, the movie universe, which is pretty much what we all expected. Anyone who has like even like the slightest hint of what the Flashpoint storyline from the comics is can kind of understand that that's the movie that they'll use to reset everything. So that's not a big surprise, not a big shocker there. What I am curious, though, is what they're going to do with Aquaman, because Aquaman comes out after The Flash, and Aquaman's supposed to still be DCEU. So
yeah, he said He said a few interesting things here. One was Shazam kind of exists in his own corner, so basically he's alluding to the fact that Shazam can move over if they want to. He can be a part of the DCU if they want to do that. Granted, the only real connection they had was the Superman costume.
But he didn't have a head.
But he didn't have a head, so we didn't even see Henry Cavill there. No, not even the toys in the store.
Black Adam?
Black Adam wasn't in the Shazam movies.
Okay, so I'm bringing up Black Adam because Black Adam, whether he was a part of the Shazam movies or not, is a part of Shazam. Whether we all like it or not, whether Dwayne Johnson himself likes it or not, he is a part of Shazam. He's included technically with Shazam. I don't know if they're going to continue anything with him maybe way later down the line. But
depends on what they do with Shazam at this point. If this Shazam movie does well, they'll probably make a third one, in which case they will tie it into the new DCU, and they will either somehow coax Dwayne Johnson to coming back as Black Adam and to actually be a part of Shazam this time, which it doesn't sound like he has any interest in doing, which leads me to what they will probably likely do, which is just recast him and maybe make him part of the third Shazam movie, which, that could happen.
It's just like I would say the parts of Black Adam I didn't like wasn't really because of Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah,
Dwayne Johnson probably could have done something more as like what we've talked about before, like actually have an Egyptian accent that maybe might have made sense. But otherwise, I think he did a good job with Black Adam. So I would like to see Black Adam versus Shazam, but I would like to see Black Adam be more of a villain than what we got in the movie.
Ultimately, I think it does all come down to how much money this Shazam makes in the box office, because money speaks, money talks.
Yeah.
According to James Gunn, story is king, but also money does talk, and money is what determines whether a story continues or not.
Yeah.
The other part is, you said Flash is pretty much going to erase everything. He made kind of a very brief comment on that, which is interesting. Blue Beetle, he said, he basically gave the illusion that Blue Beetle can fit into the DCU if they want to.
And I know exactly where he's going to fit. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, we're not really expecting a whole lot of greater DC universe references within Blue Beetle. Probably it's probably just going to be honed in on just his story only. So I can see that. But like I said before in past taglines, it would also make sense if they wanted to utilize him as kind of like the everyman window eyes into the superhero world, where this young kid becomes a superhero and now gets forced into the greater DC universe as a whole. I think that would be a really cool way to take it if that's the direction they wanted to go. So there's that.
Iron Man, kind of like how Marvel used Iron Man and Tony Stark as kind of that.
Basically
the eyes and doorway to the Marvel universe.
Basically. And then of course Aquaman, who he's got a movie coming out.
I do want to I know Garth's bringing this up as something funny, but I have seen that James Gunn has had conversations with Ezra Miller, and basically telling Ezra Miller stop it, knock it off. If you want any hope of being a part of the future, you will stop being stupid.
I think they should recast Ezra Miller anyway. I don't care.
I do too, because even before the stuff with Ezra Miller, I don't like Ezra Miller as Flash.
That's a big piece of it. Not a good Flash.
Yeah. And there's a possibility that there may be something the same with Zachary Levi. And this is going to come down. It's going to be a weird situation, and I'm eager to see how this actually is going to play out. There's a possibility of James Gunn, and I don't know if Kevin Feige's done this. Surprisingly, we really haven't had too much problem in the Marvel side of things with some of the actors coming out and having their opinions made public, on Twitter or whatever. I know we got close with what's her face from Black Panther,
Letitia Wright
coming out and having her opinions as far as masking and stuff during the pandemic. But I don't know how much the studios can actually tell their talent, hey, don't be doing this. you are an actor. We need you to be in the movie. We don't need you spouting your own personal opinions about anything political online. And I don't know if they can say that.
It's something I wouldn't be shocked if they start writing it into contracts. If you're going to be, especially if you're contracted with a major studio to play a character for at least a decade or so in various projects, they might be like, hey, listen, your character is a big piece of our thing. As such, we need you to be able to be available to play this character. And part of being available is to not get yourself looked down upon by the public eye on social media. Because if you do that, you won't be available to play this character anymore. So yeah, I could see them writing stuff in the contracts look, we don't own your social media, but also don't do stupid things. It's the same thing you get hired at a company, and while the company can't control what you post on social media, let's say you're working for a cable internet company and you on your social media post that you hate said cable internet company for whatever myriad of reason, they could turn around and be like, hey, homeboy, no, you don't work here anymore for that. They can't control what you put on social media, and they're not going to, but they're also going to control whether or not you still have a job with them or not.
So I'm taking common sense into effect in this. We've seen plenty of videos going viral of people turning into Karens, or they my favorites, and I feel like it's probably everybody's favorites, is the suburban white woman that turns out to be a racist is yelling at someone, and then the world finds out who she is, who she works for, and then she gets fired from her job. Don't do that. You're stupid. So there's a reason why, for the most part, while we are trying to become public figures by running a YouTube channel and doing stuff publicly. I haven't publicly shared outside of like maybe a few people privately, but never publicly shared like who I work for. And I'm not going to, because it doesn't matter. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I'm also not going to say anything bad. Like I'm not racist or anything like that. So I'm not doing anything that's going to get me either canceled or fired from my job. But at the same time,
on all fronts.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't need to say something like, well, I'm not interested in the next Fast and Furious movie. And some random person's like, well, we're going to talk to your employer. They shouldn't have a hate monger like you. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But that's the way the internet works nowadays. People get what they want, even though it doesn't make any sense. So, that's why I don't do that. So that's why it's kind of the same reason for a while. I haven't been a big fan of like during awards, Oscar acceptance speeches. I don't like when they use that time to talk about their personal like political opinions and stuff. Just to thank the people that helped you get the award and get off the stage. That's it. So I don't like that. Like, you're an actor, you're there to act. That should be the whole point of what you're doing. Beside the point. Kind of got onto a soapbox there for a second. Moving on. Let me see. So we've got Flashes coming out. Yeah. Where is that? I saw. Yeah. Sue here is saying, I wonder if there's a possibility of a Jason Momoa Lobo. I like that. I like the idea of Jason Momoa as Lobo. The problem with that, I also really like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I think 90-something% of the reason why Aquaman was actually successful was because of Jason Momoa.
Yeah. I think Aquaman's at a place now, though, where Aquaman as a name is in the public brain enough that they can just do a whole new Aquaman at this point if they wanted to. I don't think it makes sense that they simultaneously make him both Lobo and Aquaman. You might could highlight various double castings, say like in the MCU, wherein a lot of those double castings make sense because of how the person is like hidden under makeup, or the role they're playing is very small and doesn't matter, or it's over here on this corner of the MCU that isn't really highlighted anymore. You could make all those kinds of arguments. In this case, Lobo is the type of character. So first of all, one, Aquaman is a main hero, so there's that. Two, Lobo is the type of character who could appear as like an antagonistic, person, like in a superhero or in a Superman movie of some sort, but then spin off and do his own thing. You're not going to have somebody who's going to be the main man in their own thing, while he's simultaneously being the main hero in another thing. I don't think that's going to work. So
if they do Lobo right, if they choose to bring Lobo to the screen, if they do him right, Lobo has the potential for being as popular as Deadpool.
And I think it's perfect for Jason Momoa too.
Yeah, he's got the same kind of characteristics. And yeah, as much as we all love, like, Ryan Reynolds is pretty much Deadpool in real life. I almost feel the same with Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa is almost really Lobo in real life as well. My man. So.
Fragging Bastich.
Yeah, fragging Bastich, yeah. So the current DCEU movies that are coming out, they're all still going to continue as planned. I'm almost willing to bet Blue Beetle, since it was still kind of like in filming and production, there's probably a couple of things they can do to kind of like change the trajectory of where it was going to go originally and move it now for it being centered into the DCU. Again, I'll talk about Blue Beetle a little bit more here in a minute. Then we've got, moving on, we've got DC Elseworlds, which I feel like, I don't know if this was actually officially said, but as far as I know, this was the first time it's been confirmed that there's going to be a sidetrack called DC Elseworlds. These are all the movies that currently exist that won't be a part of the same universe as the core DC movies. This would include the Joker sequel, Folie à Deux.
Yep, go for it. It's not English.
Yeah, it's French. I'm usually okay with French. And then there's what was recently also announced, the Batman Part 2, which great title, guys.
Part I do.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. Was there like any TV shows? I mean, technically, like you would have things like the Harley Quinn cartoon.
Yeah.
Because so one of the things that James Gunn said is that all media is now going to be a part of the DCU. That you're going to have video games, TV, cartoon, movies, all firmly a part of the DCU. And so that would leave me to believe stuff like the very successful Harley Quinn cartoon, which if you haven't watched, you should be watching it. It's a fun cartoon. Very adult though. So yeah, I'm wondering if stuff like that's probably still going to be a part of this Elseworlds. I don't know what other TV shows potentially. I just mentioned that Pennyworth show that I didn't know existed was canceled. So
he mentioned Teen Titans Go is the animation side of it that's part of the Elseworlds, because Teen Titans Go is kind of is definitely its own thing. It has nothing to do with pretty much anything else. So
yeah.
So those will all continue as they are. That means that very likely that's going to give Matt Reeves leave him open to actually make a full trilogy out of the Batman,
as well as that Penguin spinoff show.
Yeah, man, that's going to be weird. So
I'm curious about that though, because like at this point, like sure, side animation like that makes sense to just leave in its own world and be its own thing. For the most part, animation has always been separate from anything else. You know, like as of right now, the Into the Spider-Verse movies aren't really connected to anything live action Spider-Man. For now, I mean, I'm sure they could tie it in later if they wanted to. In fact, I almost expect them to and would kind of want them to. But the point is that a lot of the animation stuff is on the side. What we have right now is we have two examples of movies that are on the side with the Batman and Joker movies. And I don't know, like, it's good to call those Elseworlds right now, but I don't know if you continue producing films and whatnot under the Elseworlds label once those movies and their franchises or trilogies are done. However long they want to expand those movies and stuff too. So I don't know. I don't know if we end up seeing that Elseworlds label stick around longer than a tree branch is falling down right now.
Is that what that was? I heard that back here. It sounded like a gust of wind.
Our trees in Texas are not built for ice.
Dude, so I went out earlier. We had like roughly about an inch of ice around branches of trees, and like when I went out earlier, I saw tree branches just down in the road and stuff. Yeah. It's insane.
Literally just did the Doug from Up squirrel.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I was saying, yeah, I don't know how much they continue utilizing the Elseworlds label past these franchises though. We'll see. I mean, they could. The fact that they leave themselves open to do so is a thing. So,
yeah. Sue was saying, I heard Joker sequel is a musical, which, apparently it's going to be a musical, which is weird.
That's why I got Lady Gaga in there.
Yeah, I don't know how you make the first movie not a musical, but now all of a sudden the second movie is going to be a musical. That's going to be weird.
He's crazy.
What I'm wondering, is if they might do something like, again, it's going to be a weird call for those of y'all who aren't familiar. That Scrubs episode, My Musical.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with us, both me and my brother absolutely love the TV show Scrubs. There was an episode that is like medically sound, surprisingly, where a patient hits her head and she hears everyone singing instead of talking. So the whole episode was a musical. It's fantastic. It was music done by the same people who did Avenue Q. Highly recommend check that out if you are a fan of Scrubs or if you haven't gotten to it. That was a great episode. But I wonder if they're going to do something like that. That these two characters, Joker and Harley, are just so crazy that they hear people singing.
In their romance for each other is what I'm assuming will be presented in this movie. Whereas other Harley Quinn media usually shows that she's trying to separate from Joker. I think this one they will have a romance together. In this, I would imagine so, because if you know the character of Dr. Harleen Quinzel,
mm-hmm.
She is a psychiatrist, I believe is the term. She handles talking to crazy people. I believe she was at Arkham Asylum when she was doing it, right? Because that's where she met Joker and ended up basically falling in love with him. Was from that. So she's already somebody who is involved in the mental health field of people whose mental health are severely declining. So you could easily see that being the way they go with that in terms of like making it a musical. It's just the two of them hear music and see dancing and whatnot. It's not necessarily what Joker was experiencing in the first movie, but anything's kind of open when you take a character in that direction.
Yeah. So that is Elseworlds. So that's what's happening with the movies that are outside of the DCEU. Moving on to the DCU, which was the big announcement, because we're just wondering what's new, what's coming up. We've already heard about all these other movies. Let's see what's the new ones. And I just straight grabbed the images from the announcement video too. First up, we've got the animated TV. I'm gonna guess most of the stuff that said it's TV is probably just gonna go to HBO Max. I feel like is a safe bet right now.
Very likely.
Yeah. So we've got Creature Commandos.
Wait.
There's a couple of things before we actually get started. I should have actually done this first. Were you wanting to talk about Creature Commandos?
Yes.
Hold on to that for a second. The very first thing before all of these, we didn't get any kind of a confirmation from James Gunn whether the DCU is going to continue to play in a PG-13 and R-rated universe, or if it's just going to potentially, if it will cater to the R a lot more than Marvel does. Right now, from Marvel, the only confirmation we really have is that Deadpool 3 is going to be R, but that makes sense. There's been DC stuff that has been released before, like say the Suicide Squad. Doesn't necessarily need to be R, but it is helpful. It's good for the product. I enjoyed the Suicide Squad, but the problem with R-rated is that leads to a lot more violence. And say, for example, my brother doesn't like stuff that's gory. So you've yet to watch the Suicide Squad because there's some gory bodily bits in that movie. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see them possibly just because Marvel isn't doing that. So that's an untapped resource essentially for big comic book movies.
I hate it because honestly, I know I'm not the only person in existence that just doesn't like that. I know for a fact I'm not the only person that doesn't like to view hyper violence and stuff like that and just normalize hyper violence. I'm not into that. I don't care for it. I don't want to see it. I know I'm not the only person who sees that. So it doesn't thrill me that there's a potential for an entire linked universe that I should care about to have aspects of it that are portrayed that way at times and other times they're not, wherein I will then now be left out because it's obviously my choice to not view content like that. So, I guess it does ultimately come down to it's my decision to not do that. And so it's me who's making the decision to short himself on understanding certain aspects of the universe when they're portrayed in certain ways, but it is what it is. It's kind of really annoying. I wish they would kind of all stick to the PG-13 rating, but I understand that there are people out there who like the more quote unquote mature aspects. I disagree with hyper violence being labeled as mature, but I understand the reasoning for that. You have to be of a mature age in order to understand what it is you're watching and rationalize it functionally.
So that was probably the first foremost thing I would have liked to have gotten some kind of confirmation, but I guess this is all going to be just as movies come out, TV shows and stuff come out. We'll see just how it happens to fall.
I doubt Superman will be rated R.
Yeah. I know there was a second thing I think I wanted to talk about. Oh, yes. Yeah. That's what it was. Those of y'all who may follow Mr. Koi Jandro. If you're not familiar with who he is, he's a magnificent comic book fan. He's like one of the top comic book fans, in my opinion. He released a thing on Twitter like yesterday or the day before or something like that, talking about like when people, it was leading up to what do you expect to hear from James Gunn's announcements. And his thing that he wanted to hear was when James Gunn is making these announcements, he wants to hear like, where's the idea for the story coming from? Like reference the comic book, pay homage to the people who have done the work, who know the comics. Yeah. Like just let them know, hey, we're going to make a movie about this. It's coming from this comic book story. Like that's what he wanted to hear. And I completely understand and kind of agree with that. That would be a great thing to do. And it just so happened that's what James Gunn kind of did. He did reference like certain stories and comics that they're getting the story from for these movies. Yeah. So I like that. I'm saying that because the first thing that we're going to be talking about here is Creature Commandos. I am a comic book fan. I love Marvel and DC. I'm honestly not that familiar with the Creature Commandos. I know that it's a group, as you can see here. It's a group of, I don't know, heroes and villains, anti-heroes. Basically, they're in the comics, they worked a lot with Sergeant Rock, which in DC, Sergeant Rock is kind of almost synonymous with Nick Fury, or at least Nick Fury back when Nick Fury was leading the Howling Commandos. Mm-hmm. It's a group of like basically the Universal monsters without actually being the Universal monsters. Like there's one guy in there that's essentially Frankenstein's monster. There's the Bride of Frankenstein. There's a Wolfman.
Leads me to the point I wanted to make earlier, which is that James Gunn said that the actors will be voicing, the actors who voice these characters will also be portraying them in live action should those characters make the jump back and forth. Which tells me that DC will be doing the Dark Universe better than Universal could have ever dreamed.
That's what's going to be funny. When DC can do a cinematic universe better than anyone other than Marvel, you should feel bad. Y'all who tried to create the Dark Universe should feel really bad.
They're going to get the Universal monsters, quote unquote, on the screen in live action probably before Universal ever would have, and that's hilarious to me.
Yeah, they're the DC version of the Midnight Suns. So Midnight Suns from Marvel is like a team up of all your Ghost Rider, Daredevil, Wolverine, Punisher, like all the dark characters that are willing to do whatever it takes. So that, and this will also come back again here in a minute, but yeah, Creature Commandos, that's going to be interesting. It is animated, so they're saving themselves on the budget of having to do the makeup effects and everything all the time. So
for right now,
yeah. Here's the thing, kind of to Koi's point, I'm not familiar with the team. I had to look them up on the internet and Wikipedia and whatnot to kind of just like refresh. I just only knew that they were like a subgroup that could be brought in by Sergeant Rock, and that's about it. So, like, I'm interested in this. But yeah, hats off to Koi and everything to his point is those of y'all who know about it, cool.
Yeah.
I wish I could have that appreciation like, oh, they're doing Creature Commandos. I don't know them that well. So, moving on, there's going to be a live action again, probably very likely HBO Max show for Waller, still played by Viola Davis, so they're keeping that as well. This is going to be following Amanda Waller as she works with probably still her team. James Gunn said that she'll be working with the team from Peacemaker, which was kind of sort of just alluding to that Peacemaker is still a part of this universe as well. Yeah. So I'm almost willing to bet that means that everything from his Suicide Squad movie is still going to be a part of the DCU, which makes sense. I mean, it was James Gunn that did that, so
yeah, it's one of those situations where you pick and choose what's going to work and what's not going to work. And while the first Suicide Squad movie had, connections to say like Ben Affleck's Batman and Ezra Miller's Flash and all that. The follow-up really didn't have, as far as I'm aware, really didn't have a whole lot of connections to like all these other major heroes. And so therefore it can kind of, despite the fact that, a couple of the characters are the same from the first Suicide Squad, it can kind of just remain on its own outside of that world. I think that's their way of saying we really, really, really don't want to recast Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Yeah. In which case, I'm like, you know what? Sure, go for it.
I wouldn't want to either.
Or Viola Davis as Amanda
Waller. Or
Waller,
Viola Davis as Waller.
Because she's fantastic as Amanda Waller.
Yeah. And then moving on, he said, this is really going to be the first full like DCU movie. Superman Legacy, which we've already gotten kind of like a teaser to this. When he said he's not bringing back Henry Cavill for Superman because they're wanting to go with a younger Superman, which makes sense because the idea that they should have here is we're wanting to create a universe that these actors can keep playing for 10, 15 years or so. Look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They started with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, who played Iron Man from 2008 to effectively through 2019. Could possibly pop up in flashbacks. Who knows? Very likely. But, I mean, that's over 10 years that he committed to playing that character. And I know there's a lot of like stuff behind the scenes, budgets and contracts and stuff that could affect that. This is the real world. This isn't a comic book where you could just draw a character into a story if you wanted. The actor actually has to commit to it. So I understand that's probably why he wants to start younger with Superman, because Superman really is probably going to be the focal point for the DCU. I mean, he's the main character for all of DC Comics, short of Batman, but like Superman's the flagship title character. Yeah. So yeah, I completely get that. That makes sense. I like it because it also is setting the bar for what we may see from the rest of the DC, depending on who they go with. And this is why the casting for the Superman movie is going to be so important, because this casting will tell us what we're looking for the rest of the DCU. It will tell us roughly who we're looking for as casting as far as Batman in the DCU, Wonder Woman. And I know some of those, I feel like I saw something where it said like the door is still open for the previous actors, some of the previous actors to come back into their same role.
Not Henry Cavill?
Like not Henry Cavill, but I think I read somewhere like the door is still open for like Gal Gadot to come back.
Affleck.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm curious. I think a lot of it is going to really hinge on who is going to be playing Superman. And that's a hard role. Like there's hit or misses. I know a lot of people like Tyler Hoechlin playing Superman in the Superman and Lois CW show. I'm not a huge fan. I don't like his look. I don't think he's got the look of Superman. Henry Cavill's probably my favorite Superman outside of Christopher Reeve. And technically Tom Welling, if you want to include him as Superman. But yeah. And that's the other thing too. Sue's asking if it's going to be a lesser known actor. Maybe, because you can get them like on the ground floor cheaper, and their star power will rise as the movies continue. So very likely. Yeah, but I'm eager for that. I don't know what the storyline on that could be. With it being Legacy, that sounds like it's going to be talking about Superman's history without necessarily being another Superman origin story, because God knows we don't need that.
But I could see them doing the kind of the brief like intro credit sequence where it's like we see the destruction of Krypton while the credits are flashing by the screen or something like that.
You're talking about
like how they did Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Which, I mean, here's the thing. In all honesty, Incredible Hulk probably could have retold an origin story. It's not like the Hulk wasn't like...
No.
I mean, as someone who hasn't watched Euphoria and just looking at the actor, Potentially, I'd want to see how he is in the suit. But yeah, I get the fact that like in Euphoria, unfortunately, he is doing a good job of typecasting himself as a complete douchebag. So a complete douche nozzle.
He also like that aspect aside, I just can't see him as Superman, honestly. If you're looking at just like a photo of him, then yeah, I can see how you're going off of he would probably look good as Superman, but I can't see him portraying Superman, even the euphoria of it all aside.
Is that his character? Is his character Nate Jacobs, or is that someone completely different?
Nate Jacobs is the name of his character in Euphoria, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank y'all. It's a team effort to get me to understand. Anyways, Malcolm, why?
No, better question is why not?
Because he's going to be too busy playing Wolverine. Anyway. So moving on. So, that was what I was going to say. With it being probably touching upon his history, this is leaving me to kind of wonder if they're going to make like the main villain Brainiac, which I would love. I don't mind if Lex Luthor is a part of the Superman movies.
Needs to be,
because he's a part of it anyways. But
like Lex Luthor is a major player in the DC universe, regardless, not just in Superman. So I can't see them doing a Superman movie without Lex Luthor being some character in the background at least.
Yeah, you're doing Superman, so there's a certain level of characters that you have to do. Superman, Lois, Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, Lex Luthor. Hands down, you have to get all them in.
I just, for the love of all things good and holy, can they make him a Lex Luthor who's closer to like the 90s animated Lex Luthor than a goofball, goofhead McGooferson? Because I'm tired of goofball, goofy McGoofy Lex Luthors.
Yeah, we need to get away from like Gene Hackman was good, but I don't like that personality of my Lex Luthor. Get away from Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey, and definitely get away from Kevin Spacey. But
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, just get away from these weird, goofy. Just make it. Yeah, go straight up. Do the Clancy Brown.
Stop it.
No,
Stop it.
Not Michael Cera. I want someone who's. I don't want like the CEOs that we have now of like tech companies. I don't want someone who looks like Elon Musk or Tim Cook or Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos actually would be a good Lex Luthor. I want someone who's going to come in who looks like that they physically can dominate a room, but I don't want I see a lot of people saying Batista.
This was
Michael
good.
Rosenbaum would be a fantastic Lex Luthor. I have where did you get that idea at?
He was actually probably one of the best, if not, in my opinion, the best live action Lex Luthor that we've ever seen. He
was the best live action Lex Luthor we've ever had, easily. So, no, Garth, not John Cryer. God, that was terrible.
What a cast.
Ducky as Lex Luthor. Yeah.
Ducky.
I know he was Lex's like nephew in Superman, something we should have forgotten, but Jeff Bezos has been method acting for Lex Luthor this whole time. Pretty much, yeah.
Nailed it.
So, anyways, moving on to the next one. Oh, this is going to be good. Lanterns. It's going to be a TV live action series. And James Gunn was saying this is going to focus more on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. My question that I have for this is the Green Lanterns are assigned sectors, with Earth being a part of Sector 2814. I don't know how you're going to have both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart as Green Lanterns of 2814. I'm almost certain one of them will be, and one of them will will probably be like the Green Lantern of a neighboring sector, whatever. Sector.
Possibly. The way I see it and the way they might go about it is that they might do like the Ant-Man type situation where they're just jumping in with Scott Lang over Hank Pym, like in the Marvel. And this one, we might have an older Hal Jordan who's kind of mentoring a younger Jon Stewart. In which case, Jon Stewart's the one who's taking over for Hal Jordan's sector. So, or they could just do it where there's just multiple human Green Lanterns which
we'll just throw that rule out the window.
Just throw it out and just do multiple human Green Lanterns. Which, look, if that's the case, I'm all for that, because I would rather they do that than have older Hal Jordan mentoring younger John Stewart. Like I just flat out would prefer multiple human Green Lanterns.
So, like, does that mean we're gonna see like the original Alan Scott? We get Hal Jordan. Are we gonna bring in Kyle Rayner, or heaven forbid, Guy Gardner? Like, just
doors open.
Yeah. This is what I'm actually thinking. It would be if they were to do 4 of them: Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, and Kyle Rayner. And here's the thing, like, I just made the joke about Guy Gardner. I like the idea of them bringing him into a TV show just because that's some great character personality for everyone else to bounce off of. So,
yeah. So if that's the case, if they go with younger, then of course, like, obviously we were talking about all this. We're going to talk about casting too while we're brainstorming about what this all could be. There's got to be somewhere that you got to fit Glenn Powell in, right? That guy is built to be a DC superhero. I mean, I'm sure there's somewhere in Marvel he can work to. There's also other great choices for Booster too. He could fit somewhere in Marvel as well. The guy's built to be a superhero at some point for sure. I can easily see him as Hal Jordan though.
Trevor Noah as John Stewart meta. That would be good.
That's hilarious.
I know, like, with Alan Scott, I know Alan Scott's also been like brought in on like other DC properties.
Just listing Green Lanterns. It's all right.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one. The Authority. This
will be the one we'll be passing on.
Very likely this is going to be one, depending on what they do. And this is why I was questioning about the whole, like, are they going to keep it rated R? The Authority, again, not necessarily one I'm completely familiar with. I know The Authority. The Authority is a spinoff of Wildstorm. So Wildstorm, back in the early 90s, there was that whole thing with like Marvel. Marvel had a disagreement with its artists and writers. So a lot of like the more popular artists and writers left Marvel. They went to create their own comic book company, which was Image. So you got like a lot of them like Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Silvestri, Jim Lee, Silvestri? Not Alan Silvestri. That's the composer.
Oh.
The Jim Lee went and created, not only was he a part of Image, but he also created just his own comic imprint, which was Wildstorm, and a part of the characters of that was a superhero team. Wasn't referred to as the Authority, and I know I'm trying to spitball off the top of my head. I know Garth would probably be able to clarify this a little bit more in the chat. It's not Wildstorm. It was like Showstorm or something like that. It had another name, something Storm, and they were a group of heroes that would do pretty much anything to save the day. What this means for media now, with them having their own, was it going to be a movie? Was it? Let me see. Yes.
Yeah, film.
So it's going to be a film. This gives me ideas where it's probably going to be somewhere similar along the lines of like The Boys or Invincible, where it's going to be pushing that R rating. This sounds like a team that will stop at nothing to ensure the survival. Stormwatch, thank you, Lego. That will stop at nothing to ensure the survival of the human race, type of thing. So yeah, it sounds like that they're going to be doing things like ripping people's spines out and dismembering organs and stuff. That's sounds like the name of the game for them. You can't do that when we have a layout that looks weird. So needless to say, Chris probably won't be interested in this. But yeah, it sounds like it might be interesting. The only thing I am apprehensive about is, because of the existence of The Boys and that Invincible cartoon, could we be getting a little too close to overload on gratuitous violence for superheroes?
Hey, it's great. A superhero's gonna punch a guy in the stomach, and his stomach's gonna fly out the backside of him. It's all good and fun. Yay!
Like I'm down for it. Like Lego's saying, sounds interesting. Like I'm down for that, but yeah, I don't know anything about these characters, so the only thing from what I've read up on these characters, the only thing that I do know, the only character I do know is apparently the character Grifter was a part of the Authority at some point, which Grifter was a member of Wildcats. So
it's just weird to me. Like, so this is like a different version. This is supposed to be like a different version of Superman and Batman that are involved in this. Is it actually like Superman? But is it like a multiversal type situation of Superman and Batman, or is it just characters that have similar power sets?
When Image Comics was created, a lot of the characters that those artists and writers created at that time were blatant ripoffs of previous characters. There was the character of Supreme, which was a complete ripoff of Superman.
There's been so many Superman ripoffs, though.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Even like within Marvel, you have Sentry. Sentry was a ripoff of Superman. So, yeah, there's a lot of characters that are very close because of that.
So they are still Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, is what I'm saying. Goodness.
Good Lord, that was like a whole tree that fell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in some form or another, like again, I don't know like the exact characters, but like they're dabbling in the idea of being similar to. There's enough changes to make them completely different characters, but they are definitely leaning towards the hinting of like Superman, Batman.
The crazy thing about the DC universe is that there's multiple aspects to make essentially a darker form of Justice League.
I mean, kind of.
And I don't know. Like, I think this is going to be all about like which ones do you prop up and which ones do you like. Well, we probably won't adapt that one. Yeah, they just get compared to them. So yeah, it's other characters that are essentially acting as a Superman and Batman version, more or less. Not quite them, but also kind of similar to them.
It's enough.
There's other various like super groups that are operating on the dark fringes that also have a version of Superman or Batman within them. And how many of these are we going to do in the DC universe, I wonder?
Yeah. It's enough to at least make people go like, oh, he's like Batman, and then move on. Kind of like what they did with Big Daddy in the Kick-Ass movies. When they mentioned Big Daddy, like the characters themselves were like, oh, like Batman. And like, kind of, but some completely different. And I feel like that's the way they're going to handle this, the way it's going to work out.
Interesting.
Let me see. So next one, moving on, we've got Paradise Lost, which is going to be a TV show. Basically, this sounds like it's going to be all about the warrior women of Themyscira, the paradise island that Wonder Woman is from, which I don't know. This might be what I would like to see from this, is if this is like a brand new origin of Wonder Woman and it leads into like a full-on Wonder Woman movie.
Which by the time we get this, we will know, I think by that point, whether or not we still see Gal as Wonder Woman within the DCU or not.
Yeah.
As of right now, the fact that this exists, live action TV. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be one-to-one attached to a new Wonder Woman. It doesn't mean it's going to be one-to-one attached to an old Wonder Woman. So I think this will be our indication. Maybe by this point, we will either have a new Wonder Woman casted or we will have a new Wonder Woman movie planned. We'll know a little bit more. James did say that this was only part of the 8 to 10 year plan. This isn't the full 8 to 10 year plan yet. So there could be a plan for a Wonder Woman movie involved in here somewhere, in which case we will know by this point whether Gal is involved or not still. If she's not involved, if they are just essentially rebooting the character of Wonder Woman here, then it would make sense for this to be kind of like a backdoor origin for a brand new Wonder Woman, kind of spawning off of this TV show.
Yeah. I'm still kind of interested into where they could go with this, because I mean, thus far we've only seen like small snippets of the mascara, primarily in the movies. So I wonder how much more they could build upon. Now for the big one that I think, other than the Superman, this is probably like the biggest one that most people are super interested in. The Brave and the Bold, which is going to be a movie. I like this so far.
Yes. Go ahead.
This is going to be the movie that essentially is going to, right off the bat, it's going to show us Batman, who Batman is in the DCU, and immediately they're teaming him up with Robin. And this Robin will be his son, Damian Wayne. I like this because here's the major thing about the DC movies that I've been very hesitant about, unlike Marvel. Marvel has one big universe. Sure, you've got certain characters like Spider-Man kind of has his own world. The X-Men has their own world type of thing, their own villains and people and things they have to deal with just themselves without paying attention to the rest of the Marvel universe. Batman is, for all intents and purposes, completely within his own bubble. Batman has enough stories, enough characters. He doesn't need to be a part of this larger comic book universe, but he is. And that's what I was eager to see. I want to see a movie that Batman is a part of, like the full DC Comics universe. But at the same time, I want to see the Batman movies themselves expand upon Batman lore. Meaning, I want to see more from his family and his extended family. Robin, Batgirl, Huntress, Catwoman, the Spoiler, like all these characters. I want to see that grown upon. And that's what it sounds like they're doing with this.
I feel like it's the one aspect of Batman in film that we have not yet really truly explored outside of the Batman and Robin and Batman Forever movies. Which, let's not really claim those to be effective versions of the Bat family in live action. Here we probably get that, in that we're going to have a Batman who has a son in Damian, which is great. And the reason I like them going with Damian here over that is that gives me the that implies to me, it's not confirmed yet, of course, but it implies to me that we are dealing with a Batman who is quite a ways into being Batman, but isn't quite old man Batman like they were trying to convey with Ben Affleck. This is a Batman who
returns.
Yeah, this is a Batman who is established but is not old yet. He's not too old that he can't still be Batman for another 10, 15, however many years they need this person to be Batman for. What that means to me is that we have essentially a Robin who's so many Robins down the line from being Batman's ward, essentially, that we will have already gotten past the point of Dick Grayson. We've already gotten past the point of Jason Todd. We've already moved on past all of these characters. Tim Drake, yeah. So that in this case, Dick Grayson can already be Nightwing. Jason Todd can show up later as Red Hood, and we can tell that story if we wanted to. Was Tim Drake the one in Teen Titans?
Yes.
Yeah, so Tim Drake can already be off on his own doing Teen Titans if they wanted to do that. They have the ability to take those Robins who were known as other characters or in other ways and be able to jump straight into their stories while simultaneously still being able to tell a Batman and Robin story, which I love. I love that we get to finally have a true Batman and Robin, hopefully in a movie form, because I don't count the Chris O'Donnell stuff as a true Batman and Robin type story.
But that's been the only live action Robin we've gotten.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, if you want to count Jiggle in Dark Knight Rises, but
that's a very like forced,
very loose, very loosey goosey with that. Yeah, and so the thing I like about this also is right off that bat, that's telling us essentially what the storyline for this movie is going to be. And I was actually talking to my brother about this yesterday. That what I would like to see personally is I want to see Batman take on some lower tier villain. I want to see like Clayface or do a proper Mr. Freeze. Like, let's not jump into Joker, Penguin, Riddler. Like,
Mr. Freeze is lower tier.
Huh?
Mr. Freeze is lower tier.
Well,
he's been in a movie.
I don't know. Bring back characters that we haven't really seen him either fight before, or maybe characters that didn't get a proper due in previous movies. I want to see him like he's dealing with that threat, but then we have the side story of everything involving Damian. Damian is off being trained by his mother, Talia, Ra's al Ghul, and there's the whole storyline of how Damian is going to mesh with Bruce Wayne's world. That's what I want to see. So yeah, I guarantee, kind of like what was it? Did Garth say it? Yeah. Guaranteed, we're going to have Ra's al Ghul and Talia. And yes, I pronounce Ra's al Ghul like the Batman the Animated Series. That's where I learned to pronounce it. I don't know what Christopher Nolan was thinking, but whatever.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, that's stupid. It's Ra's al Ghul. So we're going to see Ra's al Ghul and Talia involved in this movie. I just want to know who's the other villain, because I guarantee you Ra's al Ghul is not the villain of that movie. I want to know who Batman is actually dealing with while he's having to also juggle dealing with Ra's al Ghul and Talia and Damian.
Killer Croc, let's bring him back. No, I'm kidding.
Nah.
We don't need to do that. There's plenty of other Batman characters who need to be in a movie.
Yeah. Anyways, so I am eager for this. I do want to see if that is going to put us in a position where, yeah, kind of like what you're saying, is Dick Grayson already going to be Nightwing? Jason Todd with the whole idea of Red Hood. Maybe that we haven't gotten to Red Hood yet in this new universe, so we get to do the entire Red Hood storyline in the movies, which would be great.
Would work. You know, spoilers aside, which would work effectively like Winter Soldier for a lot of people. Yeah.
And especially if you get Jensen Ackles to play Red Hood. That would be great. That would be really good. Love to see that.
Did it once before.
Yeah, and I loved his voice work in that. So, yeah, that would be good. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, you're touching upon a lot more of the extended family. So, yeah, like Catwoman, Huntress.
But not Batgirl. We don't touch Batgirl. Batgirl isn't a thing anymore. Forget Batgirl.
That's where it's going to get awkward, is if they do try to bring in Batgirl.
Hey, Leslie Grace, you wanna be Batgirl again? Hey,
I wouldn't be surprised if Leslie Grace just gives them the middle finger, says no.
Be Batgirl. We got a Batgirl opportunity for you over here. This one we promise it will come out this time. We promise.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's the one I'm really looking forward to. And I like the idea of that hopefully they do lean more into Batman being a Batman that could still be taken seriously within his own story and family, but could also work with the greater DC universe.
Yeah.
And I will use this moment to touch upon the fact that we got absolutely nothing from James Gunn about building up a Justice League, which I like. I don't want to hear about the Justice League for like another like five or 6 years. Build up your characters, give us compelling characters in a movie, and then form the Justice League. I look at it, that shot from Avengers, the hero shot with the camera spinning around as they were all back to back. Fantastic shot. That is easily one of the best shots ever in cinema. Not just superhero movies, but in cinema, period. And we never got that from Justice League. We didn't get that kind of a shot from the Justice League movie. Both the one that came out and then the Zack Snyder's version.
Wait, You mean that shot where they were all standing in a line on like some kind of cliff edge or something or other building edge or something at the end of the movie? Wasn't where Flash is like, "Oh, heroes! Yay!"
No, that was the same stupid shot that was in Fan 4 Stick where they're like, I guess we should figure out a name for ourselves. Well, that would be fantastic. What did you say? I said fantastic. That'll work. Whatever.
That's it. By golly.
God, that pisses me off. Yeah, that was such a joke of a shot. And the thing was, Justice League should have been more a theatrical buildup than Avengers. Avengers is cool. I love Avengers, but Justice League is like the predominant team of heroes. Like it wasn't dealt with as much like ta-da as it should have been.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my little side rant on that. Yeah, I want to see Justice League done properly with the grace and the respect that it deserves. And I love the fact that we haven't heard anything about that James Gunn didn't even mention the Justice League. So love that.
Yep.
Next one, moving on, we've got Booster Gold, a TV live action. I am all for this because the Booster Gold character is so much fun. He is this cocky egomaniac from the future who was never successful. So he comes back to the past in the hopes of being a popular superhero. He's like living the dream of every person that's starting off on YouTube that hopes to be a big YouTuber someday. That's what he's doing. I want to be the next Superman. And I love the idea of that. We've seen Booster Gold in he was in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon that it was a fantastic episode. And then there was also an episode of Smallville that had Booster Gold. I think it was in the last season, actually,
Booster
right before
Gold.
the series finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even in the TV in Smallville, Booster Gold was done very well. And this is where I'm saying, like, yeah, we're definitely going to get Blue Beetle in on this. Because Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are just always team members.
There's the talk that the Blue Beetle that we're getting isn't the same Blue Beetle as the one who's partnered up with Booster Gold. But I kind of don't know if that truly matters in terms of they can kind of tell whatever story they want and use whatever characters they want. So I think what's going to happen is that because they are producing a Blue Beetle movie, which will probably inevitably fold into the DCU, and they are producing this Booster Gold TV show, which will obviously fold into the DCU. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't expect the two of those characters to be the ones to partner up and that be that sort of thing. Also, yeah, a lot of people are talking about Glenn Powell here. I think, again, regardless of where you put him, I think Glenn Powell needs to be somewhere in this here universe. A lot of people talking about Chris Pratt. I'm not completely against that because the type of character that Booster Gold does sound like it fits up Pratt's alley, like to a T. Like this sounds like the typecasted kind of character that Chris Pratt can play. So if they wanted to go that route, they absolutely could. It just depends, I think, at that point as to whether or not you want to involve Chris Pratt after his being Star-Lord for so long and for so well in the Marvel side of things. So I don't know if Chris Pratt's really on the table for that reason. He's still kind of seen as Star-Lord. So I don't know if you really can paint him as another superhero.
I will bet money on this, Jeremy. Yeah. There will be a scene in Blue Beetle with Booster Gold, easily. Yeah, and so it was the Jamie Reyes Blue Beetle that teamed up with Booster Gold in Smallville. So
yeah.
Bradley Cooper as Booster. That's interesting. Also, I don't know if they might want to go someone younger. Again, the idea is that you go younger for someone who's going to play this character for a long time.
Which is why Glenn Powell makes sense.
Yeah, Glenn Powell, I think, makes sense on that. Not that Bradley Cooper is old, but I don't know if Bradley Cooper is going to be taking on another role like this, specifically a role where we actually get to see him finally and not just voicing a raccoon. I don't know if he'll take a role like that where it will span, say, like 10 years playing this character.
Cooper's in his late 40s, right?
Something like that, yeah. So I'm all for
48.
Booster Gold.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good show, just because of Booster Gold. Malcolm hit the nail on the head. That was the second they said Booster Gold. That was exactly who I first thought of, and I told Chris that last night as well. Like, if it wasn't for Nathan Fillion being older, especially because Nathan Fillion already has a good working relationship with James Gunn.
Oh, we're 100% going to see Nathan Fillion involved in one or multiple of these projects in some form or fashion.
Well, he was in the Suicide Squad also, but his character was like killed off like in 2 minutes.
So, we'll see him again.
Yeah, very likely we're going to get him back again. So
yeah.
Moving on, we got Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's another Supergirl storyline. It sounds like it is going to play more of an origin of like, from what James Gunn was saying, that we're going to see her. I think he said something like she's living on a piece of Krypton that was destroyed. I don't know if that means she's still coming from Kandor or what exactly they're doing with her. I'm not familiar with this Woman of Tomorrow storyline from DC. So we'll see. But I like the fact I do like the fact they're bringing her in like early to be a part of this DCU also. So.
They also have the route to stick with what's her name, who's playing her in the Flash movie, who's playing Supergirl in the Flash movie. Is it Callie? Is her name? Anyway, cool. So like
I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
So there's that, or they go and just recast her. Either way, it's interesting to me that we are. This is the one thing that I think DC is doing interestingly that's different from what Marvel did, in that we're not leading with movies of the top A-tier heroes, the ones that make up the Justice League. Obviously, we're going to have a Flash and Aquaman this year that probably somewhat be loosely, if not entirely, not related to the DCU going forward. But, you know, we're leading with a Superman movie, a Batman movie, and we're also introducing Supergirl here, which you wouldn't necessarily believe that Supergirl would be introduced like in a first phase, or in what James Gunn is calling chapter of a you know, shared universe like this. Lanterns, obviously, we're introducing the Lanterns here, which makes sense. You know, introduce them in the first phase, something that does make sense to do, but doing it as a TV show is an interesting way. But yeah, I never would have pictured like, hey, let's lead with a Supergirl here. I think that's a good thing, though. I think it's a good thing because it expands the lore of Superman a little bit quicker. It shows a different aspect of the Superman, just Superman's world and story. And on top of that, without doing a Wonder Woman movie, it's a great way of introducing a female hero right up top, which is something that most of these comic franchises have had a hard time doing when translating to movie. Like, we didn't get Captain Marvel until phase 3 of the MCU.
Hell, we didn't get Black Widow and she was a secondary character in Iron Man 2.
Yeah, she didn't get a main movie until phase 4, even though she had been throughout the entirety. Like, so it's good. It is good to see a Supergirl movie happening, in which case we get the female hero, you know, right up top.
And it's not Wonder Woman.
And it's not Wonder Woman. We can't necessarily do Wonder Woman right now because they got some story stuff that they want to do, maybe either reintroducing her or bringing in a new Wonder Woman. So yeah, we'll see. But
anyways, last one to look at is Swamp Thing. This is interesting. Like, why Swamp Thing? Why in this first chapter, essentially? the gods and monsters, which yes, I get that he's a monster. Technically, maybe kind of a god also. No, that's more Man Thing. Man Thing's more goddish than Swamp Thing. I'm confusing my swamp monsters. But like Swamp Thing, we haven't had an actual movie of Swamp Thing since like what, 1982?
Was that a CW show that happened?
There wasn't a CW show. There was a TV show like in the 90s. But I know like there was the 1982 movie had it was directed by Wes Craven. Had Adrienne Barbeau in it. I forgot who played. I think it was Ray Wise. Ray Wise played the character of Swamp Thing before he becomes Swamp Thing. And I know there was like some sequels to it, but whatever. Yeah, we haven't had like a very like full-on Swamp Thing since like the 80s, other than that 90s TV show or so. I like the idea of this, especially because right off the bat, James Gunn said it's gonna still be a part of the DCU, but it's going to lean more horror, which I don't know. James Gunn has a lot of connections to horror. He's done a lot of horrific type movies. Slither. He wrote Brightburn. So
produced, yeah.
So yeah, I like this. I like the idea of them doing Swamp Thing. I don't know. I don't know what else to say without hearing more about it. But like, I'm actually kind of eager for it.
I can already tell you it's probably not going to be up my alley. I can already determine that this is probably going to be something that's not going to. It's not going to fit into my bubble of things that I like and don't like. So I can see that. I do like this. It's very heavily rumored, if not, all but confirmed, that James Mangold is going to essentially direct it.
Which that's weird.
Which is a choice. That's a choice. It's an interesting choice.
But like, if that turns out to be true, that I feel like that means that we're taking Swamp Thing out of like the campiness that he could be and putting it straight into like, let's just take this seriously, which that might be a really good take for him.
I think that should be your sign of the direction this whole entire new DCU is going to go. Yes, he's still going to be the protector of the green, but I can also see him being taken very seriously here as well, and that's a sign that the entire DCU is to be taken seriously.
Yeah. I would like to see that also lead into like the full-on Justice League Dark. So that would be cool. If
the Authority?
The actual Dark Justice League, like Swamp Thing, Constantine, Zatanna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know it's not the Authority. I'm just saying there's multiple Dark Justice Leagues again. Multiple dark groups of heroes.
And if they could bring in Guillermo del Toro to do it, that would be fantastic too. Like he was supposed to.
Wouldn't that be crazy? If anyone could do that, I think James Gunn could get that done.
Yeah. So that's everything that was announced. Now, again, James Gunn said that they have an 8 to 10 year plan. These are not all the things that are coming out over the course of 8 to 10 years. This is all the stuff that's probably going to come out within the first Within the first 2 years, that will be pretty much all this stuff that he just announced.
Pretty much.
So I don't even know if this is all of chapter 1. I do like, so let's step back for a moment. I know one of the things we've said on this channel before is how to revamp the DC universe. And my favorite go-to is like, just straight up copy Marvel. Well, that's what they're doing here. Yeah, they called it chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, instead of like phase 1. Yeah. Where Marvel has phases for their movies. James Gunn just straight up called it chapter. And I love it. Like just straight up copy, rip off Marvel. I am absolutely 100% A-okay with this. So
if your competition has a plan that works and you can utilize that plan for yourself,
Yeah. I mean, if you talk about like in the realm of horror movies, look at when Halloween came out in 1978. Look how many copycats that spawned, including Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is like very well known as completely just straight up ripping off Halloween. Especially not even just like in the holiday or doing a horror movie based around dates, but just the type of movie it was, the kind of slasher it was. So yeah, I'm eager for this. It's like just straight copy Marvel. But I like the direction it's going so far. It doesn't seem like it's going down a straight ripping off Marvel path. It's taking its own twists and turns, but I like the fact that it looks like it's doing it gently. We're not just rushing into Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Now let's get the Justice League. Now we've got Flash. We've got Cyborg. We've got Aquaman. Like, they're not jumping into the big heroes right off the bat. They are giving us those big heroes, but they're also giving us a little extra stuff on the side, which I think that's the proper route for them to go. So, anyways, that is going to do it for this episode. Again, check out our podcast. We have our latest episode of the podcast, episode 7, talking about anticipating 2023 movies. Let's anticipate 2013 movies. I'm so eager for that Evil Dead movie. Both in 2023 and 2013.
Oh, yeah, Man of Steel. Yeah.
That'll be a great Superman movie. People will be talking about that Superman movie for like decades.
Directed by this up-and-coming director, Zack Snyder. I hope he sticks around and does more DC projects in the future.
He did really good with Dawn of the Dead, the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think he could do very well for the DC universe. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, go check out that.
Movies.
Go check out that podcast. It was a lot of fun just sitting there talking about more about movies coming up. As we get trailers coming out, we will be doing trailer reactions as well. What is today? Today's Wednesday. Tagline.
Correct.
That's right. So do we have anything coming up pretty soon?
Nothing yet. We have a marquee coming up here at some point within the next few weeks.
We have a marquee coming up, I believe on the 17th is the plan for it right now, Friday the 17th. We are going to be tier ranking some rom-com movies, so again, once I have that list finalized, we'll be dropping that into our Discord. So if you're at the Patreon, if you're even at the $1 on Patreon, you have access to our Discord. You'll be able to see that list if you want to watch those movies too, to quickly catch up before the marquee. That way you can have an opinion if you're watching it live, because we're hoping that you're watching it live. So, yeah. Anyways, that is all coming up. Otherwise, make sure you follow us at Cinefanatics MLP on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and youtube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP. I am going to be doing stuff on there probably, again, like within the next month. I've just gotten some stuff, or I'm about to be getting some stuff that's going to help increase my streams, the quality of my streams. So you will see more about that pretty soon. Anyways, yeah, that's for me. Chris?
You can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP, where the quality of my stream will remain as is for a while.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so make sure y'all hit like on this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We appreciate that. Do the YouTube things. And that's going to do it for tonight. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for being here. It's a lot of fun conversation tonight. Definitely enjoyed this particular episode. Hate all the other ones we've ever done, but this was a good one. So make sure you join us for a tagline next week. Same Cinefanatics time, same Cinefanatics channel.
And hopefully I don't feel like garbage then.
Here's hoping. We'll see ya. Goodbye.